My beloved brothers and sisters, have you ever paused and wondered why Allah mentions insects in the Quran? The ant, the bee, the fly, even the spider. These are not random mentions. These are deliberate signs, precise examples chosen by the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And yet, 97% of us walk through life dismissing them as nothing more than pests or background noise in our busy lives. But let me tell you, in the language of the Quran, nothing is meaningless, not even the tiniest creature that crawls under your kitchen cabinet. You see, Allah says in Surah Al-Baqarah, indeed, Allah is not shy to present an example, even that of a mosquito or what is smaller than it. Why would Allah emphasize something so small? Because it challenges our arrogance. Human beings in their pride are always impressed by what is big. Big houses, big titles, big numbers in the bank account. But Allah directs our attention to what is small, almost invisible, to remind us that divine wisdom doesn't depend on size. These tiny creatures, they are walking, flying, crawling at signs of Allah. Every one of them is a message. Now, what happens when an insect enters your home? For many, it's just an inconvenience. You grab a newspaper or a slipper and try to get rid of it. But pause for a moment. That insect didn't walk into your house by accident. The one who controls the orbit of planets is the same one who allowed that ant to find its way into your kitchen. Is this not worth reflecting on? It might seem trivial, but for the person whose heart is awake, this is a moment of reflection. Why did Allah choose to send this creature into my space, into my life, at this moment? Our problem is that we have become desensitized to the daily miracles around us. The ant carries a load many times its size, yet it moves with such discipline. The bee flutters around not aimlessly, but in a precise mission of productivity, extracting nectar and turning it into something as sweet as honey. The fly, which we see as annoying, has been given abilities we can't replicate in laboratories. The spider builds its web with engineering precision that modern science still studies. These are not coincidences. Allah is teaching us lessons if only we would look deeper. But why insects? Why didn't Allah mention bigger, more majestic animals when talking about examples of humility, hard work, or deceit? The reason is profound. It is because insects operate beneath human perception. They work in silence, they go unnoticed, and yet their impact is enormous. The entire ecosystem depends on their unnoticed labor. This is a direct reflection of how a believer should be: sincere, hardworking, beneficial to society, even if no one applauds or notices you. This is why the Prophet taught us that even removing a harmful object from the path is a form of charity. Because it's not about grand gestures, it's about being in tune with the subtle responsibilities Allah places in your life. Moreover, when we fail to see these signs, we are not just ignoring insects, we are ignoring messages from Allah Himself. Spiritual blindness doesn't happen all at once. It starts when we stop noticing the small things. The ant becomes insignificant. The fly becomes a nuisance. The bee is only appreciated for its honey, not its work ethic. But the believer, the one who reflects, understands that every interaction with creation is an opportunity for self-correction, for realignment with the Creator. My brothers and sisters, this isn't just philosophy. This has direct psychological implications. A person who trains their mind to notice the signs of Allah in the smallest things becomes more patient, more grateful, more humble. You begin to realize that you are not the center of the universe. You are a servant, an abd, living in a world full of that are constantly speaking to you. But are you listening? The tragedy of modern life is not that we don't see miracles. The tragedy is that we see them every day and we've stopped being amazed. This is why Allah asks us repeatedly in the Quran, do they not reflect? The failure to reflect is not just intellectual laziness, it is a spiritual disease, and insects, yes, even that little ant under your table, are prescriptions for this disease. But only if you take the time to reflect, so the next time an insect enters your home, before you rush to swat it away, pause, ask yourself, what message am I missing? Is this a reminder of my arrogance? Is it a nudge towards humility, patience, or gratitude? Because remember, in the grand design of Allah, there are no random events. Everything is orchestrated, everything has a purpose. If you open your eyes to the small signs, Allah will open your heart to the bigger realities. My beloved brothers and sisters, let me ask you something direct. How many times have you walked past a sign from Allah without even noticing it? How many times has an insect entered your home, or your car, or even landed on your hand, and you brushed it off as meaningless? You see, the problem is not that Allah's signs are hidden. The problem is that most of us have become blind to them. We've conditioned ourselves to only respond to loud, dramatic events. But in reality, the signs that truly mold your spiritual state are often subtle, quiet, and easily ignored. The Qur'an is filled with verses urging us to reflect, to ponder, to use our intellect. Allah tells us, indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and in the alternation of the night and day, are signs for people of understanding. But notice, he doesn't just mention stars and mountains. He speaks of the smallest things too. Yet, what happens in today's world? We are so engrossed in our screens, so busy with noise, that we miss the daily messages Allah is sending through His creation. Psychologically, this is a condition known as selective attention. We only focus on what we deem important, and society has programmed us to believe that success, money, and status are important. But the believer whose heart is alive trains their attention to notice what others ignore. That is spiritual intelligence. When you fail to notice the small signs, you are not just missing out on information, you are dulling your heart. You are slowly suffocating your ability to connect with the divine. The Prophet Muhammad was a master of observation. He would reflect on the flight of birds, the movement of ants, the rustling of leaves. Everything was a classroom for him. But today, most of us are failing this basic sunnah of tafakkur, deep reflection. We think spiritual growth is only about rituals, but Allah wants our minds to be engaged. Missing the signs around you is not a small matter. It's a symptom of a deeper spiritual negligence. It shows that your heart is becoming desensitized, unresponsive to Allah's subtle invitations. I want you to think of it this way. Every day, Allah is sending you personalized messages through the world around you. But if your heart is distracted, if your soul is clouded with ego and heedlessness, you will walk past these messages like a blind person walking through a gallery of priceless art. This is why the Qur'an warns us about ghafla, heedlessness. A person in ghafla doesn't see what's in front of them, not because they're physically blind, but because their heart has become veiled. And there's another layer to this, a more psychological one. When you train yourself to notice Allah's signs in everyday life, you develop mindfulness, presence, and gratitude. This is not just spiritual talk. It affects your mental well-being. People who are constantly distracted, who fail to be present, often struggle with stress, anxiety, and emptiness. Why? Because they are disconnected from the rhythm of life that Allah has placed around them. They don't see the wisdom in small things, so everything feels overwhelming. But the person who notices an ant carrying its load, who sees a bee working tirelessly, who reflects on a spider's fragile web, this person becomes grounded. They develop patience. They understand that life is not about instant results. They start seeing their own struggles in the light of Allah's creation, and this brings a deep sense of contentment. The danger of ignoring signs is that your heart becomes rusty. It doesn't happen overnight. It starts with small negligence. You ignore the insect today, you ignore a moment of reflection tomorrow, and soon you find yourself unmoved by even the biggest signs of Allah. Your heart becomes like a mirror covered in dust. And the only way to clean it is to reconnect with the subtle signs that you've been ignoring. My brothers and sisters, spiritual blindness is a silent killer. It creeps in when you least expect it, and before you know it, you are living a life where nothing amazes you anymore. But the believer is always amazed. The believer sees Allah's artistry in everything, from the vast galaxies to the smallest insect crawling across their floor. So I leave you with this challenge. The next time you see an insect in your house, stop. Don't react out of habit. Pause and ask yourself, what is Allah showing me right now? What lesson have I been neglecting that this small creature is here to remind me of? Because, wallahi, those who are blind to the small signs will never be ready for the big ones. My beloved brothers and sisters, we've been speaking about how most people overlook the signs that Allah places right in front of them. But now I want to take you even deeper. It's not just about seeing the insects, it's about understanding their messages. Because not every insect represents the same sign, different insects carry different meanings, different lessons. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, did not mention ants, bees, flies, and spiders in the Quran without a specific purpose. Each one symbolizes a unique dimension of human character and spiritual reality. Let's start with the ant. Allah dedicates an entire surah to this tiny creature, Surah An-Naml, and what do we learn? The ant is a symbol of hard work, organization, and most importantly, humility in the community. Think about it, an ant on its own is insignificant, but when they work together, they create structures and systems that are remarkable. Now, how many of us live with an inflated sense of self-importance, forgetting that true strength lies in unity and collective effort? If ants, with their tiny bodies, can achieve so much through collaboration, how then can we as an ummah, with all our resources and intellect, be so divided? That little ant crawling across your floor is not just looking for crumbs. It is reminding you of the power of humility, discipline, and teamwork. Then we have the **b***. Allah speaks about bees in Surah An-Naml and even names the surah after them. The bee is a symbol of productivity, purity, and contribution. It takes nectar from flowers and transforms it into honey, something pure, beneficial, and healing. The Prophet Muhammad said, "The believer is like a bee. It eats what is pure, produces what is pure, and when it lands on something, it does not break or ruin it." Reflect on this deeply. Are you the kind of person who brings benefit wherever you go? Are your words sweet like honey, or are they bitter and harmful? The bee teaches us that the believer should be a source of healing and positivity in society, even when unnoticed. It's not about fame, it's about quiet, consistent contribution. But then, Allah also mentions the fly in the Quran. The fly, often seen as filthy and annoying, is used to illustrate human arrogance. Allah says in Surah Al-Hajj, "If a fly snatches away something from them, they will not be able to recover it. Weak are the pursuer and the pursued." This verse humbles us. Despite all our advancements in science and technology, we still can't fully comprehend or replicate the simple mechanics of a fly. So when you see a fly buzzing around your home, ask yourself, is this a reminder of my arrogance? Do I think I am in control of everything when, in reality, I can't even control this tiny creature? The fly humbles the ego, reminding us of our fragility and dependence on Allah. And then there's the spider. In Surah Al-Ankabut, Allah compares those who take protectors besides him to the spider who builds a fragile web. The spider's web appears intricate and strong, yet it is the weakest of homes. This is a profound warning. Many people build their lives around materialistic illusions, wealth, fame, superficial relationships, thinking these things will protect them. But when a storm comes, these webs are torn apart. The spider in your home is not just a pest, it's a wake-up call. It's asking you, are you building your life on a foundation of truth and faith, or are you weaving fragile webs of false security? Each insect carries a message tailored to your spiritual state. But here's the catch, these messages are personalized. For one person, an ant might be a reminder of neglected responsibilities. For another, a fly might be a symbol of hidden arrogance. Allah sends these creatures into your environment based on what your soul needs at that moment. But if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it entirely. Psychologically, this ties into what we call symbolic triggers. Your environment reflects your inner state. When you start noticing certain patterns, be it recurring insects, sudden infestations, or even peaceful encounters with these creatures, these are moments designed for reflection. Are you being reminded of patience? Are you being warned against neglect? These creatures are mirrors, showing you parts of yourself you may not want to see. The challenge is not to exterminate the insect and move on. The real challenge is to extract the spiritual lesson before you remove the physical presence. If you do that, every insect becomes a teacher. Your home becomes a madrasa, and you become a student of the signs of Allah. So the next time an ant, a bee, a fly, or a spider crosses your path, don't react in frustration. Instead, react with awareness, pause and ask, what is Allah teaching me through this creature right now? Because those who ignore these small, daily signs will eventually find themselves deaf to the larger, faltering signs. The message is simple, yet profound. Insects don't just visit your house, they visit your heart. The question is, are you prepared to listen? My beloved brothers and sisters, by now you're starting to realize that insects in your home are not random. They are part of a divine system of signs that Allah has placed around us. But there's something even deeper we need to reflect on. The very presence of these small creatures, especially when they appear persistently in your environment, is a mirror reflecting your inner spiritual state . It is a form of external manifestation of what's going on inside your heart and soul. You see, everything in this world is connected. The physical and the spiritual are not two separate worlds, they are intertwined. When there's a disturbance in your inner world, be it heedlessness, pride, laziness, or even unresolved sins, Allah, out of His mercy, sends you subtle external signs. Sometimes those signs come in the form of trials, sometimes through people, and often through elements of nature like insects. Now think about this carefully. When a house is in disorder, when cleanliness is neglected, insects naturally gather. But have you ever thought about the spiritual parallel? When the heart becomes cluttered with sins, when the soul is neglected, when tawbah, repentance, is delayed, spiritual impurities begin to accumulate. And just like a neglected home attracts flies and ants, a neglected heart attracts disturbances in life. This is not superstition. This is a psychological and spiritual reality that many of us fail to notice. The scholars of the past used to say, when you see persistent disturbances in your environment, it is a sign to pause and cleanse your soul. They understood that physical cleanliness and spiritual purity are deeply connected. It's not just about sweeping the floor. It's about sweeping away arrogance, envy, and heedlessness from the heart. Now, I'm not saying every insect that enters your home is a punishment. Absolutely not. Sometimes it's a neutral sign, sometimes it's a reminder, and sometimes it's a test to see how you will react. But when you start noticing patterns, when certain insects keep appearing, when infestations happen despite your efforts, that's not the time to only call pest control. That's the time to engage in deep self-reflection. What is Allah pointing me towards? Is there an area of my life that I'm neglecting? Is my spiritual house in order? Look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad. His life was one of simplicity, cleanliness, and balance. He taught us that even removing dirt from the pathway is an act of charity. The Prophet emphasized inner cleanliness just as much as outer cleanliness. In fact, the two go hand in hand. A clean environment nurtures a clean heart, and a clean heart naturally strives to maintain a clean environment. So when your external world becomes chaotic, it's often an invitation from Allah to look inward. Psychologically, this also ties into the principle of projection . Often, what disturbs us outside is a reflection of an unresolved disturbance inside. A person who is restless within will find constant agitation in their surroundings. A person who has neglected inner discipline will find even small external challenges overwhelming. So when you see a sudden influx of flies or ants, instead of reacting with anger, take a breath and ask yourself, is this reflecting an inner neglect I need to address? The beauty of Islam is that it doesn't separate spiritual development from everyday life. Your home is a reflection of your state. The Prophet taught that the heart is like a vessel. When it is filled with dhikr, remembrance of Allah, gratitude, and sincerity, it radiates peace outwardly. But when it's left empty, it becomes vulnerable to disturbances, both seen and unseen. Sometimes Allah allows minor irritations, like insects, to enter your space to prevent greater calamities from befalling you. It's like a gentle knock on the door of your soul, saying, wake up, clean your heart, reconnect with your Lord before bigger trials come. If you heed these small warnings, Allah will protect you from greater hardships. So, my dear brothers and sisters, do not underestimate the spiritual messages hidden in these small creatures. Their persistence in your environment may be a reflection of a spiritual stagnation that needs your attention. Before you reach for the insect spray, reach for istighfar, seeking forgiveness. Before you clean your walls, clean your heart. because once the heart is pure, you'll find that the disturbances in your environment begin to settle as well. Remember, Allah is always communicating with you. The question is, are you willing to listen, even when the message is delivered through a tiny ant or a buzzing fly? When you fix what's inside, Allah will fix what's around you. My beloved brothers and sisters, there's a reality that many of us overlook, and it is this. Everything in existence is in a constant state of dhikr, remembrance of Allah. Yes, even the insects that crawl in your home, the flies that buzz around you, the bees that hover near the flowers, all of them are engaged in the glorification of their Creator. Allah says in Surah Al-Isra*, there is not a thing except that it glorifies Him with praise, but you do not understand their glorification. We often think that dhikr is something exclusive to humans, or perhaps to the angels, but no, my brothers and sisters, every atom in this universe is in submission. Every insect in your house is in a state of worship, fulfilling its purpose in the grand design of Allah's creation. Now think for a moment, when these creatures enter your space, could it be that they are carrying the vibration of remembrance into a house that has become spiritually stagnant? Could it be that Allah is sending these creatures to awaken you from a heedlessness that you've become comfortable with? There's a powerful psychological phenomenon called environmental conditioning *. You see, the environment you create around yourself, be it in your home, your workspace, or your car, eventually begins to influence your inner state. When you fill your environment with distractions, with noise, with neglect, it becomes very easy for the heart to become dry. But Allah, out of His mercy, sometimes sends these small creatures as subtle agents of spiritual disruption. They come to break your routine, to force you into a moment of reflection. That tiny ant you brush away, that buzzing fly you're so eager to kill, perhaps they are more awake to Allah's presence than we are. Have you ever noticed how sometimes during moments of silence an insect's movement can seem exaggerated? You might be sitting in a room, distracted, and suddenly a bee enters. You become hyper-aware of its sound, its path, its persistence. That's not a coincidence. That's a divine opportunity. In that moment, the bee's dhikr is louder than your thoughts. It forces you into awareness, but if you are spiritually numb, you'll miss it. You'll treat it as a nuisance instead of a reminder. Our problem, my brothers and sisters, is that we have disconnected worship from life. We think worship is limited to the masjid or to salah or to the recitation of Qur'an, but Allah wants us to live in a state of remembrance, not just on the tongue, but with the eyes, the ears, the heart. And sometimes Allah will send a small insect into your home to reignite that state within you. Consider the bee once again. Its very flight is a miracle. Science cannot fully explain how such a small body, with such delicate wings, can perform feats of engineering and navigation that far surpass human capabilities. The bee's buzzing is not random noise, it's a rhythmic, continuous dhikr of its creator. When it enters your home, perhaps it is bringing with it the sound of glorification, entering a space that has been too silent of Allah's remembrance for too long. The ant, too, never wastes time. Every moment it is working, moving, serving its colony. It does not stop to show off, nor does it complain. It fulfills its role with unwavering submission. Now compare this to our own habits. How often do we waste hours in distractions, in gossip, in mindless scrolling? Allah sends you an ant crossing your path, not to annoy you, but to remind you of what it means to be purposeful in every action. Brothers and sisters, these are not just insects. These are living lessons, walking reminders that life is meant to be lived in awareness of Allah. They are in constant dhikr, while we, with all our intelligence, can go days without even saying *subhanallah* with sincerity. Here is a painful truth. Sometimes Allah sends these small signs to us because the bigger signs are being ignored. The heart that cannot be awakened by the beauty of the Qur'an, by the majesty of the skies, might still be shaken by the persistence of a tiny insect that forces you to pause. So the next time you see a fly, an ant, or a bee in your house, don't rush to swat it away. Pause, reflect, join them in their dhikr. Recite *subhanallah*, *alhamdulillah*, *la ilaha il Allah*, and reconnect your heart to the living rhythm of the universe. Because, my dear brothers and sisters, if the smallest of Allah's creations never forgets its creator, then what excuse do we have? My beloved brothers and sisters, let me share something with you that many people miss, even though it is right in front of them every single day. Insects, yes, those tiny creatures we often find annoying, are not just signs of nature or symbols of spiritual reminders. They are also messengers of ***, barakah***, of blessings, and sometimes indicators of its absence. Barakah is a concept that goes beyond simple material abundance. It is a divine multiplication, a hidden increase that makes little feel like much, that makes a short moment last long in value. It is the unseen force that turns a small house into a place of tranquility, a meager income into sufficient wealth, a simple meal into nourishment for the body and soul. But barakah, my brothers and sisters, is sensitive. It is attracted to certain environments and repelled from others. Now, here's the link we often overlook: the state of your home, its physical and spiritual environment, can either welcome barakah or drive it away. And among the signs Allah sends to you are these small creatures that invade your space. Let's think about this deeply. When a house becomes a place of constant backbiting, when the television is always on with nonsense, when the Qur'an gathers dust on the shelf, the spiritual energy of that home becomes heavy. Barakah begins to slip away unnoticed. But Allah, out of His mercy, sends warnings. You start noticing disturbances, ants that weren't there before, flies that seem to appear out of nowhere, cockroaches that invade even the cleanest kitchen. These are not coincidences. Just as physical filth attracts physical pests, spiritual filth attracts spiritual disturbances. The scholars of the past understood this well. They would say, when sins multiply, disturbances multiply. Sometimes you are praying for more barakah in your wealth, in your children, in your time, but the space you are in is suffocating that barakah. I want you to notice something. A house where Qur'an is recited regularly, where salah is established, where gratitude and remembrance are a constant, feels alive. Even if it's small, even if it's simple, it is filled with a kind of peace that you cannot buy. That is barakah. On the other hand, a home filled with arguments, heedlessness, and negligence of Allah's commands, no matter how luxurious, feels heavy and restless. Now, the appearance of insects can sometimes be a ***, physical indicator *** of neglect, but it can also be a ***, spiritual sign *** of a neglected heart, a home that has forgotten its divine purpose. Allah sends these small disruptions to shake you out of your spiritual sleep. Before barakah departs completely, He sends you a subtle message, ***, cleanse your home, cleanse your soul. But it doesn't end there. Just as insects can indicate a decline of barakah, they can also be ***, agents of barakah ***, if you understand their message. When you respond to these signs not with frustration, but with humility and action, when you take time to purify your space both physically and spiritually, you invite barakah back into your life. Consider the simple act of reciting Surah Al-Baqarah in your home. The Prophet Muhammad said, ***, do not turn your houses into graves. Verily, Shaitan does not enter the house where Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. This is not just about protecting your home from jinn, it's about filling your environment with a frequency that attracts blessings. When you align your home with Allah's words, even the smallest creatures will reflect that harmony. You will notice a change. My dear brothers and sisters, barakah is not something you stumble upon, it's something you cultivate. The presence of insects in your home can be a signal from Allah asking you to reassess. Is my home filled with dhikr? Are my earnings halal? Am I being just and fair in my dealings? Am I grateful for the blessings I already have? You might have the cleanest kitchen, the best pest control, but if the heart of the home, the spiritual center, is neglected, you will keep seeing disturbances. These are not punishments, they are reminders. Allah is giving you a chance to reconnect before the loss of barakah becomes irreversible. The key is to respond with *** awareness and action ***. Purify your home with regular Qur'an recitation. Establish salah as a family. Practice shukr, gratitude, together. Cleanse your earnings from doubtful sources, and watch how the atmosphere changes, not just physically, but spiritually. You will see the insects disappear, yes, but more importantly, you will feel a barakah that transforms your entire life. So the next time you see a sudden swarm of flies or an ant trail in your home, don't just see it as an annoyance. See it as a personal message from your Creator, *, a return to me, reconnect with barakah, cleanse your space and I will fill it with my light. *, because when Allah sends signs, it is never to burden you. It is to wake you up before you lose something precious. Barakah is that precious thing. Don't wait until it's gone to realize its value.